Now I'm excited to introduce Susan Hall. She is a sacral chordoma survivor, a volunteer Chordoma Foundation Peer Guide, a consultant, a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, everything. So we're so excited to have you here today, Susan. Thank you so much for leading this session for us, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. And what a pleasure it is to be here today. And I recognize so many names coming in here. And, while I wish this were a different club, right? I wish this were a meeting of the chocolate lovers or beach house dwellers club. Um, I'm so grateful to be here with you because I know that while this is certainly not a club that any of us expected or wanted to join, I know for me, some of the people like you that I've met along the way are some of the most courageous, resilient, extraordinary people that I know I'm ever going to have the chance to meet. They call us survivors, but I want us to not only survive, I want us to thrive. So today, I'm going to pack in as many tools and also hear some of your tools as well for less stress and more joy, no matter what's going on in your life right now. Does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up if it does. Give me a thumbs up, and you can hit your reaction, your emojis too. As Andrea said, we're going to be using those today. So, first of all, a little bit of background on me. Lots of thumbs up, Andrea. Thanks. Little background on me. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not a licensed psychologist. My background is in corporate talent development and adult learning, helping busy people learn simple skills and take small actions that lead to big change. So, and as I've spent 30 years in that industry, helping leaders navigate really difficult, challenging times. I had developed a really good skill set of coping mechanisms, right? I developed skills for handling difficult situations. And I really and truly believed at one point in my life that, you know what? I got this. And then my world turned upside down. So in 2016, I was diagnosed with sacral chordoma, which resulted in the amputation of my tailbone, two and a half adjoining vertebrae, and the accompanying nerves in my lower spine. 8 weeks after that, my husband Tim, also healthy and fit his whole life, landed in the hospital for an emergency heart procedure. 8 weeks after that, while on a weekend getaway celebrating progress on our recoveries, I was in a freak accident, shattered my shoulder, separating the ball of my shoulder from the shaft and splintering it into pieces. That was also the year that my father, while my mother was recovering from knee replacement surgery, had a stroke. He fell, broke his hip for the third time, and the combination left him paralyzed from the waist down, permanently in a wheelchair. And my beloved dog, Chili Pepper, startled on a walk, slipped his collar, and out into the path of a speeding SUV, which struck and killed him instantly. The driver never stopped. In 1 year, I experienced the greatest fear, the greatest pain, and the greatest sorrow of all of the decades of my life leading up to it. It was too much. Have you ever felt the weight of too much? Throw me a heart if you have. Throw me a heart if you felt that way. I know you have. Everyone here has. That year challenged every skill that I had. That year challenged and tested everything because there were days when this lifelong get up and go optimist struggled to get out of bed. And to do that, I had to be really clear and really intentional on any little thing that brought me joy. I learned a lot that year. Here's what I learned. Number one, happiness is a constant decision, right? We all know that person who walked through hell with their head held high and grace in their heart. Sometimes we've been that person. And then we know that other person who gets all irritated and lets Hours of the day crumble into ruins because the traffic got snarled, or the flight got canceled, or that snarky comment or post over breakfast struck a nerve. Sometimes we've been that person too, right? At any moment, it can be a toss up. I tell a story in the book, Decide Happy, about how one evening my husband and I went out for dinner and I had skipped lunch to work. So I was in full blown hangry mode, just whining about how long it was taking the server to bring us our drinks and take our order. And my husband looked at me and he said, aren't you writing a book about happiness? And I said, yes, I know what to do to feel happier right now. I just don't want to. The reality is we can't be happy all the time. In fact, UC Berkeley did some pretty fascinating research with 20,000 people around the globe and came up with we human beings have about 27 emotions. And our job for the full human experience is to feel all of them. But when we get tired of feeling stressed or fearful or irritated or angry, we can decide to feel differently. I'm not saying it's always easy. Two, let's see here. Are you seeing my screen move, Andrea?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you should be looking at two, helping other people we need to take actions. So it's not enough to just make a decision, right? We've got to do some things a little bit differently. And I found that throughout my experience in adult learning, that a lot of times we do things unconsciously. We don't even know that we're doing them to feel happier in life. So, happiness is a set of daily rituals and tiny habits as much as it is a mindset. It's like a muscle. So, put it in the chat. Do you get to go to the gym once and get the body that you want? Put that in the chat. Do you get to go to the gym once and get the body that you want? Right? No, no way. I mean, it would be great, but sorry, it doesn't work that way. We have to keep working at it. And that's why happiness takes practice. Sometimes we blow it, sometimes we can get right back on that horse and try again. So I want to be clear what I mean by happiness because this is not all unicorns and rainbows, right? This is not about being blindly optimistic or cavalier because that's not realistic. So here's what I mean by happiness. I believe there are four pillars and test this for yourself. Does this resonate for you? So, number one, a feeling of love and connection in your relationships with our people, our animals, nature, the world around us, and most of all, ourselves. So, there's some really interesting research by Harvard University. They're now 86 years into the longest scientific study of happiness. They're on their fourth director, Dr. Robert Aldinger. And when he's asked, what is the one thing we should do for a happier life? He answers without hesitating. We should focus on our relationships. Our positive relationships keep us happy and healthy. Number two, sense of calm and inner peace, right? That strength, that sense of, I got this, no matter what is going on around us. There's a lot of crazy going on in our world right now. And it's amazing how we gravitate towards people who are levitated or who we gravitate who are calm and happy and know that whatever has to happen, they're going to handle it. So, my experience has been that calm is a superpower. Cultivate a sense of calm. You can handle anything. Three, sense of contribution and making a difference. I know there's a lot of givers on this meeting today. Giving just makes us happy, and it has such ripple effects, both for the receiver and the giver. It's impossible to feel down on yourself when you're lifting someone else up. And finally, moving forward, that feeling of making progress emotionally, physically, moving with purpose towards our goals. I think that's why I know when I talk with my Chordoma peeps, that's why setbacks are so hard because we want to know that we're taking steps forward. So in the chat, put what is a priority for you? Which one of these four is a priority for you right now? And while you do that, I want you to think about this. Notice that there's nothing in here about when I meet that perfect person, right? When I get the promotion, when my scans come back clear, then I'll feel happy. Because that puts our happiness off into the future and hangs it often on something that we have no control over. So let me ask you this. Is it possible? A lot of people working on calm, sure. Is it possible, even on your worst days, to feel a sense of love and connection? Give me a thumbs up if it is. Is it possible, even on your worst day, to have a sense of calm or to do something even small, say something kind to another, to take those a small step forward? So that is the goal of Decide Happy, is to train our brains so that we're constantly taking these small steps forward. So here's what I'd like to do. Think about one thing that's feeling heavy for you right now. And it could be health related, but it doesn't have to be. It could be you're taking care of an aging parent. It could be your teenagers are at each other's throats again. It could be you're overloaded at work. Whatever it is, write that down. I'm not going to ask you to share, but we're going to work on that today. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and ask you this. If you can comfortably sit up straight in your chair, if you're lying down, that's fine too, but get yourself comfortable. If you're sitting, imagine a string pulling you up by your chest. That will automatically put you in a better position. That's a little yoga trick I learned, folks. And when you do, what I'd like you to do is look around your room and I want you to notice everything that's gray. Okay, so look at the walls, look at the artwork, look at maybe the hair on the people on the screen in front of you, right? Gray, we'll take silver too. So maybe lamps. So gray, silver, look all around. Okay, got it? Now, close your eyes. And in your mind's eye, what I'd like you to remember is everything that is blue. Ooh, tricky, tricky. But kind of scan with your eyes closed the room that you're in. Try to remember everything that's blue. All right, now open your eyes and look around and see what really is blue. Okay, look at the screen, look at the backgrounds. I see Tom, I see books on your shelf, all different colors, right? Gary's got a blue shirt on. Now, thumbs up if you noticed more blue when you actually looked around than what you remembered in your mind's eye, right? So how does this happen? This, yeah, exactly. The blue was there all the time. It didn't go anywhere. We just didn't notice it. And it's because our brains are wired to focus on one thing at a time. And we do this, exactly. We do this with our brains as well. We can only focus on one thing and we tend to ignore the rest. Our brains are selective little buggers, right? We focus on one thing. We're constantly making decisions about what we focus on, what gets deleted, what fades into the background. We do this in life, right? Here's how we do this. And here's how, as I have a friend say, we can wake up on a beautiful day and not notice the sunshine. We focus on the jerk, cuts us off in traffic, right? And not the gorgeous sunrise happening in front of us. We focus on all of the stressful things going on in our life and in our day. And we're not fully present with that one person or friend that's sitting right there in front of us. We focus on all the horrors of the headlines and all the things that could go wrong and not all of the wonderful little glimmer moments that are going on around us all the time. We focus on the gray and not the grace. Be careful where you put your focus. We give power to what we focus to. And especially with the health challenge, that can take up, man, that sucks up all of our bandwidth sometimes, doesn't it? Yet, even on our worst days, there's always those little moments of grace that we can pay attention to. Now, it's easier said than done, right? We all have challenges. And plus, there's a whole lot of negativity going on in the world right now. So, with so much going on, how do we choose to focus on the grace? So, how do we shift our focus from gray to grace? The best way to shift your focus is to ask your brain a better question, right? So, a better question helps you focus on what's more positive for you in the moment. So, we often spin over all of the things we can't control. And there's so much with the Chordoma journey that we cannot control. But even in the most uncontrollable situation, there are always things we can control. Even if it's to decide, okay, how am I gonna handle this day? How am I gonna handle this next moment? I was spinning the other day because I've still have problems with my shoulder injury. And a friend of mine had asked me to go kayaking. And I know I can't go kayaking because of the injury. And I started spiraling into all of the things I can't do that I used to do. I used to ski, I used to horseback ride. I can't do that anymore. And you know what? I had my pity party. I had my pity party and it was a good one. And then I decided, okay, enough of that. Party's over. Time to change my focus. What can I do? Well, I can write, right? I can paint. I can hug my loved ones. I can hold a glass of wine. There's plenty of things that we can do if we only shift to it. Another question I love to shift our focus is what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to? And when we are at that ground zero of recovery, right? Sometimes it's the little things. I used to look forward to a friend coming over and sitting with me at my hospital bed, reading our Kindles, or a neighbor's turkey noodle soup, right? Small things we look forward to. And then there are big things that we look forward to. I know many of you have told me over the last years, I want to go water skiing at the lake again. I want to dance at my grandson's bar mitzvah. I was talking with one of my Chordoma peeps who said, I really, really want to go to Positano, Italy. And my advice is plan the trip and buy travel insurance, right? Always a good idea. But plan the trip. We need to have things to look forward to, big things, small things. And finally, the grand poobah of focusing questions. What am I grateful for? Right? I used to think that courage was the antidote to fear, but courage, as we all know, because we're courageous, it's feeling the fear and stepping up and doing what we have to do anyway. Where we build our gratitude muscle is with those small things. I'm grateful for little twinkly lights on my patio. I'm grateful for the birds that come to my feeder. And when the squirrel actually gives the birds a chance to hang out, right? I'm grateful for cappuccino crunch ice cream. So, what I'd like you to do is write down, and if you can, put it in the chat. We want to use the chat as much as possible today. What's one thing you're grateful for or looking forward to? What's one thing you're grateful for or looking forward to? Whoa, Danny's getting married. Danny, that's huge. Congratulations. That's big stuff. Right. One thing you're grateful for or looking forward to. Celebrating, Andrea, celebrating your mom's birthday in New York. Definitely a happy family. I'm with you, Gary. That always makes me happy too. And maybe spending time with that happy family. Yep. Grateful for your family. Definitely. Riverboat trip in Europe. Oh, that sounds like fun, Chris. Definitely. Getting your creativity back, right? Having this time away from work. That's a great way to shift, Jerome. definitely. Grateful for your husband's and courage. And maybe it's your husband's courage as well. These are fantastic. So if you can build, remember we talked about happiness, we have to make decisions, we have to take small actions, keep practicing. If you can build a daily gratitude practice, three little things that I'm grateful for, you will build that resilience muscle that we've been talking about. There's one more question I want to share with you because I truly believe that this is one of the most powerful questions we can ask ourselves. And it's a double-edged sword because it's potentially one of the more dangerous questions we can ask and also the most powerful. Anybody know what that is? What if, right? What if? And there's those little what ifs. There's those, what if I mess up the interview? I was talking with Kimberly today. What if the technology doesn't cooperate, right? What if I can't connect to the Zoom meeting? What if they don't call me back? But then there are those big what ifs. What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay my bills? What if the cancer comes back or grows or spreads? I remember when I was first diagnosed with chordoma, it was as if every stress management skill I had so carefully cultivated for my entire career just flew right out the window. Those what ifs were just spiraling uncontrollably, just unchecked. And we can't really blame our brains. Our brains are designed to protect us. They are designed to, there's biology around this that our brains sound the alarm whenever they anticipate any kind of a threat, even if the threat is just spinning around in our head. So when we start to spiral around those negative what ifs, here's one thing to do. Flip your what if, right? Flip it to a more positive what if question. What if instead of stressing out until my scans, I realize that this is out of my control and I enjoy this time and decide that my doctors are watching me like a hawk and let them do the heavy lifting, right? What if I remember that I don't have to go through this alone and I've got resources to help with the Chordoma Foundation, a crack medical team? What if you remember that you have already lived through 100% of your toughest days and you handled it and you can handle whatever comes? And my absolute favorite what if of all time, what if it all works out? What if it all works out? This one flip, when we start to feel ourselves spiraling, to shift to a better what if, shifts from fear and limitations to strength and possibilities. So, what I'd like you to do is that thing that's weighing heavy on you today. Is there a negative what if that's baked in there? Like, what if I can't handle this? What if they don't make it, right? What if I blow it? And is there a more positive what if question that you can ask yourself? All right. So, write that down. Is there a more positive what if? So I want to shift a little bit, and I want to talk about a bad day. Okay. We've all had them. And sometimes it's just one really, really heavy thing that makes for a bad day. All of us have been there. Either we get the news or, something happens to us. But I would say more frequently, it's the small things, right? You didn't sleep well. You wake up with a headache. The Wi-Fi's down. You've got to commute and it's pouring outside. In the chat, what are some of the other just everyday things that make for a bad day? What are some of the things that make for a bad lack of sleep? Tom, I'm with you. That's for me too. Parallel parking in front of people. Andrea, that's so funny. I get nervous with that too. Stomach issues. Yep. Yeah. All of these things make for a bad day. Yeah. So keep them coming in the chat. Now, here's feeling behind on the to-do list. So here is what I want, again, definitely pain without a doubt. But I have a theory because in and of themselves, some stomach issues, feeling behind on our to-do list, the dog throws up on the carpeting, right? These are all annoying and inconvenient, but we start stacking them up on top of each other, right? And then we start stacking up. That's just our own personal daily stack. Then we start stacking up the stresses that our loved ones are going through, our communities, the world news, and ooh, no wonder we feel so overwhelmed. So here's my question to you in the chat. How do you dig yourself out of a stack? So it's rarely the one thing, it's usually a number of things. But how do you dig yourself out of a stack? When life is just piling right up on top of you, what do you do? Tom, you know the answer. Get outside. Yep, definitely. Yep. Danny, yep, go for a walk, take a lorazepam, whatever you have to do. It's even more basic than this guy saying these are great suggestions. But I think Danny nailed it. And that is when we are feeling the stack, all we have to remember is just to take the first step, right? Just to take that first step. And, I sometimes I call this, I was meeting with my surgeon recently, right foot, left foot. And he asked me, he said, when you talk to your peer people and they're just spiraling over, like just it's ground zero, it's crazy. What do you advise them to do? And my advice is always the same, right foot, left foot, right? Just one thing at a time. Can you make the appointment? Can you call? Can you reach out for help? Can you, some of the things in the chat here, can you exercise or go outside or walk or pet the dog? Whatever it is. So these things are important. And also we have to remember that there's usually one big thing weighing at the heart of the stack. So identify the biggest rock. And then what's one thing that you can do that's within your control to chip away at that rock? Okay. One thing that you can do that's within your control. And err on the side of taking a small action, progress over perfect. It doesn't have to be the perfect next thing, just one small step. Because remember, progress makes us happy. So think about this and that thing that's weighing on you. Is there one small step you can take to begin chipping away at the biggest rock in that stack, right? One thing that's within your control, and write that down. I'm not going to ask you to share it, but write that down. Progress over perfect. I think we make the mistake of thinking we have to have it all figured out. We have to do it all at once, and we have to do it alone. And none of those things are true, right? So write that down. So, what I would like to do now, I want to shift to, well, let me ask you this. Who here has ever experienced scan-xiety, right? That trepidation you feel when your scans are about to come up? Definitely. Okay. Throw me a thumbs up, throw me a heart. And whether it's scan-xiety or just anxiety in general, we have so much insight and brilliance in this meeting today that I've shared a couple of things. I'm going to share a few more with you. But what we're going to do now is give you a chance to get into a breakout with some of your peers. And so at this point, our friend Kimberly is going to put us into breakouts in a couple of minutes, but let me give you some direction first. Um, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to be in with a group of 6 to 8. And Kimberly, we're from all over the world today, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've got people from all over the
From
world.
Chile, yeah. I see people from Spain, so all over the
Oh,
world.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Fantastic. So, the first thing is you're going to either have a scribe volunteer or elect your scribe, and he or she will be jotting down a couple of your tips for handling scan-xiety or anxiety. And then when we come back, the scribe is going to put them in the chat, and we're gonna call on a couple people as well to bring a few more voices into this conversation. So we need to move pretty quickly on this. I'm going to give you 10 minutes for this breakout. And when you're in the group, elect your scribe. Okay, you're going to take about a minute. Try to keep it under a minute. So your name and where you're located, what's your relationship with Chordoma, and what's one of your best tips for managing stress? So, for example, my name's Susan Hall. I live outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I had a sacral chordoma, which I shared with you. One of my tips for managing stress is when I start spinning over how the heck am I going to get this done? How am I going to get this project done at work with such a short timeline, not enough people? How am I going to manage all the things that I need to do with my household? How? I flip my how to who over how, right? Who are my resources? Who can I reach out to? Andrea, I know you're dealing with caretaking issues right now, right? Who can you offload to that might be able to support you? Who can you reach out to for emotional support? Can you reach out to one of your Chordoma friends if it's Chordoma related? Could it be, somebody in your network if it has something outside of Chordoma? So just really quickly, who you are, your experience with Chordoma, how you manage stress. We're going to take about 10 minutes, come back in, put it in the chat, and I'm going to call on some people as well. Sound good? Any questions? All right, Kimberly is now going to work her magic. Welcome back, everyone. Well, how was that? Give me a thumbs up if you had a good conversation, good dialogue, definitely. We could have used, yeah, thanks, Chris. We could have used some more time. I know in my little group as well. So we've got some time. So this is an important topic. So let's be sure that we're addressing this because some great ideas came out of it. And I will start. Um, I think we've got enough time that we can have the scribes raise their hands and talk a little bit. So I'll go first so we can keep this out of the chat because I know there's some folks, it's new technology. I totally get that. So in my group, we had some caregivers, and interesting how their concerns was all about the people that we were caring for. And yet, I know one lovely woman, her young husband was diagnosed with chordoma. She's got 3 children. She's busy, she's caring for them. And sometimes as caregivers, we forget to take care of ourselves. And so, she said that one of the things that she does is, she relies on faith and hope, certainly, but also wants to learn more about patient experiences, what other patients are doing and what other caregivers are doing. So, so this is a perfect opportunity if you have not yet reached out to the Chordoma Foundation to not just for resources, but for their peer guides. There are peer guides that you can talk with. Andrea does a phenomenal job as a patient navigator, helping you manage even some of the medical questions that you might have. If you're not getting the scans that you want, if you're concerned. There was a lovely woman in our meeting who lives in Idaho, but she travels to Minnesota for treatment, which is a very inconvenient thing to do. But she knows that she's taken a very positive step because she's getting herself care from medical experts who understand chordoma. So this is my little advertisement for the Chordoma Foundation because I remember when I was going through this 10 years ago and we didn't have these virtual meetings, we didn't have these groups, but I remember how like it was one-stop shopping. Everything I needed to know was right there. And I was able to talk with a peer guide who just helped me. Next to my surgeon was probably my second source of comfort. So, anything you would add to that, Andrea?
No,
Shannon?
thank you. Thanks, Susan. And I will say we have a good number of peer guides and ambassadors, I think, on the call here today. Um,
Mhm.
I see Gary, I see Chris, of course,
Mhm.
Danny, you, Susan, Yuri, a lot of folks here. So I think it's another testament to just building that community. And like Susan mentioned, if there's anything that we can do from the support aspect, from the patient navigation aspect, please always reach out to us and definitely let us know.
Yeah. Remember, we talked about when things are stacking up, we think we have to figure it out on our own. You don't have to do it alone. You've got a lot of support within this group, definitely. So some of the things that people came back with in our group are staying upbeat, relying on your resources, right? Remembering that you've got great resources is just a wonderful way to kind of relieve that tension, relieve that anxiety. So, what else? I'm curious for some of the scribes in the other breakout rooms. Maybe raise your hand. And Mr. Troner, Gary. Gary, great. If you could unmute yourself. And what were some of the insights that came out of your discussion?
Thanks, Susan. I want to start off by just saying that Susan was my peer guide and made all the difference. And also I just had dental work this morning, so I might be slurring my words a little bit. Um, we had a really, interesting group. It was great meeting everybody. We had a couple of people who are still trying to work their way through what their treatment protocol is going to be. And I think they're both doing the right things by I think dealing with the foundation, number one, but also doing their homework and looking at what their options are and where they can get treatment and where the best place to get treatment is. And I think networking for that is so important, not just with people in the foundation, but then getting the information and then going out and talking to the people that might be the people that are on your treatment team in different locations and different facilities to decide what's right for you. Um, we meditation came up, sort of calming and meditation was sort of a common theme for a lot of people in our group in different ways. I think there was discussion of family and support from the community, not just the Chordoma community, but outsiders, whether they're family or friends who have been really helpful with some people in the group. Faith came up as well. Uh, and there's one caregiver in the group who is now running a support group for Chordoma patients on Facebook and doing work in memory of one of his children who had chordoma. So, to me, the common ground was support and meditation and staying calm and taking a positive approach, and then doing your homework. I would
Yeah,
say those are probably the main things.
that's great. And what's interesting is all of those things are within our control, right?
And I will say, I told the group, for me, I was the COO of a hospital, a rural hospital. Nobody in my hospital had ever seen a chordoma, including the people in oncology. And I didn't want to, when I was first diagnosed, I didn't want to deal in some ways. And my wife would lie in bed at night and she would do the research. She found the foundation. And we started delving in. And to me, taking positive steps to figuring out treatment and where to go and how to deal with it was really, really helpful. Just knowing that, again, left foot, right foot, I guess, from what Susan said. And that's all we can do. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's our group.
Great. Sounds like you had a good discussion. Thanks, Gary. Who else? Yes, Danny.
I'll just share very quickly for the sake of time, but a couple of things that popped up in our group was focusing on sort of living your own life. We talked about a little bit of travel, sort of setting those plans that you can look forward to. Something that came up was feeling like when you're in a good place of gratitude and feeling blessed, you can then help others, and that sort of increases that good feeling, kind of a positive cycle. And I won't get into specifics, but in our group, I was reminded very strongly that humor
Mhm.
is a great coping mechanism, and very grateful for some laughs today.
Fantastic. Gotta love humor, right? If you can find it in the darkest moments, that's a good skill to have. Fantastic. Who else? What other scribes do we have? Kimberly, how many rooms did we have?
We had 3 breakout rooms.
With 3. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got everybody.
Yeah.
Did anybody else want to add anything to that? Just from the discussion. I know, unfortunately, we got cut off a little bit early in my group, but does anybody else want to add something that you do to manage stress and scan-xiety? Jerome?
If I can add something, I want to say, can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Awesome. I want to say thank you because, like, literally finding you guys probably saved my life. I haven't had surgery yet to get it removed, but I was faced with neurosurgeons that were telling me they were going to paralyze me for life. And that was the only solution, and there was no other way, and that was how it was. And then I reached out to the Chordoma Foundation. Kimberly, you're an angel. I love you so much. And then I was able to kind of like, I got the advice, which was only trust certified surgeons that we have, gone through the process with us. And therefore I reached out to those surgeons, and those surgeons said, no, 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 we can remove the tumor without paralyzing you forever. And that changed everything. Just support from Kimberly, and she put me in touch with people in Spain who are going through what I'm going through right now, through WhatsApp groups, through Zoom calls, through so much stuff. So thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Mm. Hear, hear. I've worked with hundreds of organizations throughout my career, and for me, the Chordoma Foundation stands as this brilliant example of what a few dedicated people can do to make a huge difference. What a mighty little group this is, making a big difference in the world. So definitely. Well, and best of luck to you, Jerome. Certainly. Anybody else want to add anything? Um, before I want to share, something else. Hold on a second. My little computer is doing strange things here. Speaking of technology, but I think this gets to what we've been talking about, which is stacking up more joy. We've been talking about how to unstack stress today and unstack anxiety. Everyone on this call is a warrior. Whether you've faced Chordoma, you've faced it, whether it's you or a loved one directly. And every day we have a choice, right? Do we wear our adversity like an anchor around our necks, using it to make us, bitter and angry and weak? Or do we use it as rocket fuel? So we talked about the power of asking ourselves a better what if. And I can tell you this, that my life changed dramatically for the better when I shifted my what if from what if instead of focusing just on the cancer, I focused on contribution? And who are the Peer Guides international ambassadors? Throw me a heart, throw me a thumbs up, right? We've got a lot of us on the call here today. Throw me a heart if this is helping out as a peer guide or an ambassador is one of the most meaningful things you do, right? And I truly believe that service turns our pain into purpose. And when you're at ground zero, of course, when you're right dealing, one of the women in our groups is like right smack in the middle of dealing with a possible recurrence, right? We've got to take care of yourselves, right? Put your own oxygen mask on first, right foot, left foot. You need to take care of yourself. There comes a point where when you're feeling better, maybe you're looking at your last treatment anyway, a little bit in the rearview mirror, where you can ask yourself, can I use what I've learned to help another? And I'm not saying everybody needs or wants to be a peer guide or an ambassador. There's lots of ways to help. I have been on the Chordoma support groups where there's this one woman who was still in bed. She couldn't even sit up. And she was helping out another woman on the call, sharing an experience that she has. So giving, giving makes us happy. Giving makes us happy. So what I'd like to do now is, and I think we've got a small enough group here too, that what is one thing? We've kind of covered a lot today, shifting from gray to grace, asking yourself a better question, right? Flipping your what if, taking just one step, scan-xiety. We didn't get a chance to talk about threefers, but I have a blog that I have coming out that I will share with you on that. So that's another skill that we can use. And then light up. How can we help another? So I'm just curious to hear from the group, maybe it's not something that I said today. Maybe it's something that you heard in your breakout room, or you heard Andrea say, or you heard somebody else say. So happiness is a decision. We have to take small actions and we have to keep practicing. So I'll stop share for a minute and just ask the group, what is it that you're going to try, maybe a little bit differently, a little bit more intentionally as a result of what we've discussed today? Anybody have anything they want to share? And I'm just looking in the chat. People thanking again for the patient navigators are amazing.
I'll go. I actually feel like I am happier now than I was before, and I've always been a happy person. Um, and I still have, having taken S4, S5 nerves, half of S3, and my tailbone, I still have issues around plumbing, needs a little bit of TLC love, etc. Um, but this has sort of windowed my life down to some basics. Uh, I just kind of want to be happy. I just want to be with people that are positive, that I want to be around, and I really only want to do things that I really, really want to do. And the flip side of that is it has maybe a little less tolerant for anything that gets in the way of what I'll call those three North Stars. And I'm trying to work on not letting that intolerance um, become more pronounced. And it can be just very small little things where someone in my family makes a comment that's a negative comment that will have no impact on our lives going forward in no positive way. And that upsets me. And I tend to react to that. And I don't want to react to that because I do the same thing. We all do in our lives. Um, so I guess for me, what I want to focus on is not just being happy, but being tolerant of those things in life that might get in the way of happiness, but really are not relevant in the big picture, and making sure that that doesn't impact relationships and my view.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gary. And I see Jerome put in the chat too. I always thought life was short. Now I can fully appreciate that and trying to live to the fullest, no holds bars, right? My, what is the term YOLO? You only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough, as Mae West said. How about you, Danny?
Something we talked about in the group a little bit was I know for me sometimes I'll use busyness as like a method to try and prevent myself from having to deal with the negative. If I can really pack my schedule and I'm doing so many things, and then I don't really have time to stop and think deeply about things. So I'm really working on this idea of a gratitude practice being like an exercise, strengthening a muscle. My mind kind of really latched onto that as someone who likes to lift weights and thinking it's worth prioritizing that time and making time for this every day, for taking care of my mind and thinking about what I'm grateful for and thinking about what I'm looking forward to and relaxing. Like that is all worthy of being prioritized into my crazy schedule and to-do list.
Yeah. Fantastic. I heard this term the other day for those, those moments of mundane brilliance when you're just outside and you notice like a little bird singing a certain way or the way the clouds and the sun look, and they call them glimmers, glimmers. And I think that's great if we can look for the glimmers in life. So anybody else have anything that they want to share? And then what I would like to do now, we're coming to our end of our time. It always goes so quickly, right? I want to share some resources for you, and then I will turn this over. Just have a final thought and turn this over to Andrea for some announcements and Q&A. But I write, in fact, a number of you already get my little bit of happy in your inbox just once or twice a month. And every marketing expert out there, always tells me you should be writing 5 times a week. I mean, we all have too many emails in our inboxes, and I write old school. I write hand and paper or laptop. So, but I always strive to write something that is useful and helpful that you can use immediately. So feel free to scan that QR code, and if you, I will look at who entered today and send you one of my most popular little bit of happies, which is 10 ways to make a lousy day a little or a lot better. So that is there. And there was a lot of talk about meditation. And I'm doing a once a quarter Decide Happy Hour. And this is a time to come together with other like-minded people who are dedicated to, you know, being hopeful and positive and remembering how extraordinary life can be. There's a lot of noise in our world right now. I have a fantastic guest on May 20th, and does anybody use Insight Timer? Are you familiar with that? It's apparently the number one free meditation and sleep app around the globe. And she has over 500 listens. I'm sorry, 500. She has over 500,000 listens to her meditations. And I suck at meditating. I wish I could be better about it. But even for those of us who don't do it well, like she's got like a 2-minute practice, a 3-minute practice. So this QR code will take you to my website, and and I'll send you the link for that as well. So with that, I want to leave you with a quote before I turn this over to Andrea. And this is by Haruki Murakami, who's a Japanese author and philosopher. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through or how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain: when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. For that is what the storm is all about. Sometimes through great struggles come phenomenal miracles. I mean, here we are today. We found each other, not by a club we wanted to, but just all of you extraordinary people. And I want you to not just survive, but to thrive. I want you to lead a happy life, remembering that it's in these small moments that we create for ourselves where we can find a life that's more filled with love, moving forward, sense of calm, contribution, so that no matter what is going on around us, at any moment we can decide. So thank you so much. What a joy it's been to be with you today.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Susan.
you so much,
Thank you so much.
Susan.
Thanks.
This was
Um, be-
excellent. Thank you, Susan.
Before
Thank
we
you,
move
Susan.
into, we do have a few minutes for Q&A. Before we move to that, though, I do want to share that after today's session, we're going to do like a random drawing to give away some of Susan's book, Decide Happy. She has generously offered to sign them, and we'll send them out to those winners. So we'll follow up with those winners afterwards. We'll also be able, today's session is being recorded, so we'll also be able to send out a recap if there's anything you missed, a QR code or anything like that that you didn't get a chance to capture. We'll definitely be able to send that out as well. Like I said, so now we have some time for Q&A. Feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, put your questions in the chat, anything like that. Ask your question out loud, and we'll kind of go from there.
And it doesn't have to be a question to me. I know there were some discussions in my group. It could be a question for the Chordoma Foundation, for Andrea, for Kimberly, Shannon, Danny as well. Just curious, Andrea, there was a question in my group about genetic testing for Chordoma because this individual had two people that he was related to that had Chordoma, which is kind of unusual. Yeah, I know, that's what I thought too.
Absolutely.
So do those questions come to you or
Yes.
Shannon? Okay.
Yep, they can, definitely send them to, and we'll put in the chat support@chordoma.org. That's our patient navigation service email. Definitely feel free to, yes, reach out to us about that. And just for a quick snippet of information, there's a Chordoma familial study at the NIH, I believe, that would be interested to, connect with whoever that is experiencing that. And so we can definitely share information about that through our patient navigation service for sure. I think, Kimberly, you just put our email in chat there, didn't you? Yep.
I have
Any
a
other questions? Yes. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. I have a question about the support group meetings. There are virtual support group meetings,
Mhm.
and I was looking at the event schedule, and I wasn't sure where I saw some in other countries, but I didn't notice anything in the United States. And how do I get involved with that?
Absolutely. So they meet once a month, and it should be listed up there. I think it's just listed as, I can't remember the exact term, but I can send you a link to it, Catherine, to
Okay,
see
that's
it
great.
directly. Yep, I'll send that to you for sure. Yep.
Hey, Catherine, it's the
Hey.
same page you were looking at, but all the way towards the bottom. They're not in date order.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. This has been wonderful, and I've been so happy to be able to join this.
We're so
I'm
glad
glad.
you're here. Thank you for joining, Catherine. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments, reflections, anything else they want to share today? Either for Susan, for the patient navigation team, for Danny, as well, as she is also a survivor, staff member, and a peer guide as well. She has like the trifecta going on here.
One other question, Andrea, on behalf of someone who spoke, who is a caregiver, who is completely, understandably feeling overwhelmed. Is there any specific support for caregivers through the Chordoma Foundation?
Absolutely. We have a dedicated virtual support group only for caregivers. So we have the patient and survivor support group, and we also have the caregivers and co-survivor support group. And I think, depending on where they live, if they live in one of our other, internationally, some of those WhatsApp groups, there's a lot of caregivers in the international groups as well. So yeah, definitely reach out to us. We can make sure whoever you are that you get connected with caregiver support too.
Great. And Andrea, so we've got, is the address in chat with how they can reach out to you?
Yes, the support at
Okay.
chordoma.org
Okay.
comes to our patient navigation team. Yep. So whether you're in the United States and Germany and wherever you are, it doesn't matter. Just email us and we'll make sure that we get that you get what you need for sure.
Yeah. fantastic. And we've got some messages in the chat that I know the foundation will be sure to follow up on as well. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Again, I'm just so incredibly grateful to all of you for sharing your journeys, your life. I learn so much from you every time, I talk, and I mean, I have a heart on here because I was talking with Kimberly and Andrea because, whenever I present, even though I do it all the time for corporate, the nerves still go, right, when you're presenting, and so this is for Tom and Gary and Debbie and Zach and Karen and just all of the people that I love through the Chordoma Foundation that I would have never met if we hadn't been part of this club.
Yes, I can't thank you enough, Susan, and the foundation. I'm so, so grateful that I found you. So I appreciate everything.
We always say in the young adult support group, it's the coolest club that we all wish we weren't allowed in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. A special thank you to you, Susan, for sharing your time, your wisdom, resources, everything with us. We're grateful that, we could have this session today, and we hope that all of you are, will leave here today with something helpful and something encouraging and something new, something, additional stuff to kind of reflect on over the next few days. Again, we will send out, information, a recap afterwards, along with the recording. And if you need anything, we're here to help you guys out in any way that we can. So thank you, everyone. It was great to see you all today.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Take care. Be well.
Take care.
All. Thank you.